The screech of tires cut through the November fog. Lenora Vance hit the pavement hard, her twisted legs buckling beneath her as her mother's rusted Chevy sped away into the darkness. 7 years old. Crippled since birth. Abandoned on Interstate 94 like trash thrown from a speeding car. She didn't scream. She couldn't. The shock stole her voice. All she could do was watch the red taillights disappear, swallowed by the night, while 18-wheelers roared past inches from her small, broken body. This is how Lenora's life should have ended. But fate had other plans. 47 minutes. That's how long she sat on that concrete barrier, small hands clutching a torn backpack, legs useless beneath her, before the black Mercedes pulled over. 47 minutes of drivers glancing and speeding up. 47 minutes of cold wind cutting through her thin jacket. 47 minutes of humming the lullaby her mother used to sing, trying to believe what Mama whispered before shoving her out. Someone kind is coming. Someone better than me. 2 hours earlier, Lenora had been in the back seat, watching her mother cry. Darlene had been crying for 3 days straight. Bills stacked on the kitchen counter like a paper mountain of failure. Eviction notices. Medical debt from Lenora's surgeries that would never end. The social worker's voice still echoed. There are facilities that can help her, but you'll need to sign papers. Darlene couldn't do it. She couldn't sign her daughter away to strangers in white coats who didn't know Lenora's laugh, her favorite song, the way she hummed when nervous. But she also couldn't feed her anymore, couldn't afford the medicine, couldn't watch those twisted little legs hurt from lack of treatment. So Darlene made the worst decision of her life. She packed Lenora's clothes in a backpack, wrote a note on the back of a grocery receipt. Her name is Lenora Vance. She needs help. I can't give it anymore. Forgive me. She drove to the highway, hands shaking so hard she could barely grip the wheel. Baby, she whispered, voice breaking. Someone kind is coming. Someone better than me. Lenora looked confused, her small hands reaching out. Mama? Then Darlene did it. She opened the door, guided her daughter out, and drove away. She didn't look back. If she had, she wouldn't have left. Now Lenora sat alone, as the sky bled from gray to black. Cold seeped through her jacket, through her skin, into her bones. Cars zoomed past. Some slowed. Drivers glanced with furrowed brows, then sped up, convincing themselves someone else was responsible, that this couldn't possibly be what it looked like. A crippled child, alone, on a highway. No. Someone's coming back for her. Not my problem. Not my responsibility. Lenora's stomach growled viciously. Her legs ached. The familiar burning pain that came when the weather turned cold and there was no medicine to dull it. She started humming louder, trying to drown out the fear clawing up her throat. Close your eyes, little bird. The world is watching over you. But the world seemed too busy to notice one broken little bird on the side of the road. Then, headlights slowed. A sleek black Mercedes pulled onto the shoulder, gravel crunching beneath expensive tires. The driver's door opened. Out stepped a woman in a coat that probably cost more than Darlene made in 6 months, heels clicking against pavement, perfectly styled hair. Corinne Ashford, 52, tech billionaire, empire builder, a woman who'd built everything from nothing. She'd been driving back from a corporate retreat, mind full of quarterly reports and investor meetings. But something made her stop. Maybe it was the small silhouette against the fading light. Maybe it was the way the child sat so still, like she'd been forgotten by the universe itself. Maybe it was the voice in her head that sounded like her dead mother. Corinne, when you see someone suffering and you do nothing, you become part of their suffering. Corinne approached slowly, carefully. Sweetheart? She called gently, crouching down. Lenora turned toward the voice. Her face was streaked with dirt and dried tears. eyes wide with terror and desperate hope. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" Lenora's lip trembled. "Mama said someone kind would come." 5 words. That's all it took. 5 words that cracked Corinne Ashford's heart wide open, spilling out years of buried longing, failed fertility treatments, 3 miscarriages, a divorce that left her hollow. She knelt beside the child, designer coat dragging in the dirt, and whispered the promise that would change both their lives forever. "I'm here now. You're not alone anymore." Corinne Ashford had everything money could buy, and nothing her heart truly wanted. A penthouse in downtown Detroit with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city she'd conquered. A company worth $3.2 billion that she'd built from a garage with nothing but code and determination. Respect from Silicon Valley to Wall Street. Her face on magazine covers. Her name whispered in boardrooms with equal parts admiration and fear. But she'd never had the one thing she wanted most: a child. Years of failed fertility treatments had taught her to bury that longing. 3 miscarriages, each one stealing a piece of her soul. A marriage that crumbled under the weight of grief, her ex-husband's words still echoing. "You love your company more than you could ever love a family." He was wrong. She loved the company because it was the only thing that didn't abandon her, the only thing that didn't die inside her. So she poured herself into work. 12-hour days, 18-hour days, international conferences, board meetings that never ended. Her life became polished, efficient, successful, and completely empty. When she lifted Lenora into her car that November night, wrapping her in a cashmere blanket from the trunk, something inside Corinne shattered and rebuilt itself simultaneously. The child was so light, dangerously light. Her legs didn't move right, bent at odd angles from a birth defect. Arthrogryposis, Corinne would learn later. Lenora clutched her backpack like it contained the entire world, eyes wide with fear and fragile hope. Corinne found the crumpled note in the backpack's front pocket. As she read Darlene's desperate words under the car's interior light, tears she hadn't cried in years spilled down her cheeks, ruining her makeup, staining her silk blouse. She should have called the police immediately. That was protocol. That was law. But Corinne knew what happened to disabled children in the system. She'd donated millions to reform efforts, read reports about overcrowded facilities, understaffed group homes, children lost in bureaucratic nightmares, forgotten until they aged out broken and alone. She looked at Lenora's trusting face and made a decision that defied every logical bone in her body. "We're going home," she said firmly. "Not to a police station, not to social services. Home." Lenora's eyes widened. "Home?" "My home. You're safe now." Corinne's penthouse was all glass and marble, modern art on white walls, furniture designed for aesthetics, not comfort, a space built for entertaining investors, impressing competitors, not for living. Certainly not for children. Lenora stared at everything, overwhelmed, small fingers gripping Corinne's hand so tightly it hurt. Corinne ordered food from the best restaurant in Detroit, ran a warm bath in a tub bigger than the apartment Lenora used to share with her mother, found clean clothes from a charity donation box she'd been meaning to send out for months. As she helped Lenora bathe, she saw the scars, surgery scars crisscrossing small legs, burn scars on her arms from what looked like accidents in a home without proper safety measures. The way the child winced when her legs were moved, biting her lip to stay quiet like pain, was something to be ashamed of. "Does it hurt?" Corinne asked softly. "Sometimes," Lenora whispered. "But Mama used to sing to me, and then it didn't hurt so much." "What did she sing?" Lenora's voice cracked as she hummed a melody, broken and beautiful. That night, Corinne made calls that would alter the trajectory of multiple lives. First to her lawyer, Miriam, a sharp woman who'd handled her divorce and every cutthroat business deal since. "I need you to look into emergency guardianship," Corinne said without preamble. Silence, Then, Corinne, this is complicated. There are procedures, investigations, home studies, legal ramifications that could. I don't care, Corinne interrupted. Find a way. Next, she called Dr. Helena Moss, a pediatric specialist she'd met at a fundraiser. I need you to examine a child. Tonight, I'll pay whatever you want. Corinne, it's nearly midnight. Can't this wait? No, it can't. Money opened doors. By 12:47 a.m., Dr. Moss was in Corinne's home, medical bag in hand, gently checking Lenora's vitals, her mobility, her overall health. The child sat quietly, unnaturally still, like she'd learned early that being difficult meant being abandoned. Dr. Moss pulled Corinne aside, voice low. She's severely malnourished, underweight by at least 15 pounds. Her legs will need extensive physical therapy, possibly multiple surgeries. There's evidence of long-term neglect, though. She paused. Not abuse. This looks like poverty, not malice. Corinne nodded, jaw tight. What does she need? Stability, nutrition, medical intervention, and love. Lots of it. Over the following weeks, Corinne Ashford transformed. The corporate shark who terrified competitors became gentle with Lenora. She learned to braid hair from YouTube tutorials watched at 2 a.m. She read bedtime stories with different voices for each character, making Lenora giggle. She made pancakes shaped like stars, though the first dozen batches burned. Her assistant found her Googling how to talk to traumatized children during board meetings. Lenora blossomed. Color returned to her cheeks. Her laughter, hesitant at first, began filling the penthouse's empty corners. She asked questions about everything. Why was the sky blue? Where did Corinne work? Could she see the office? Did Corinne have a mama too? That last question hit hard. I did, Corinne said quietly. She passed away when I was young. Do you miss her? Every single day. Lenora reached out and patted Corinne's hand. It's okay. I'll be your family now. But Corinne's world didn't accept change easily. Her business partner, Gerald, confronted her during a board meeting 6 weeks later. You're distracted, he said coldly, in front of 12 investors. You've missed 3 international calls. The Singapore deal nearly collapsed because you weren't available. I have priorities now, Corinne shot back. Beyond profit margins. Gerald's eyes narrowed. This isn't like you. The Corinne Ashford I know doesn't let emotions compromise business. Maybe the old me needed to change. She didn't tell him about mornings waking to Lenora's small hand on her shoulder, asking, Will you stay? She didn't mention how, for the first time in years, she felt like her life had meaning beyond the next merger, the next acquisition, the next billion. Then, 3 months after finding Lenora, Corinne's phone rang during breakfast. The caller ID made her blood run cold. Michigan State Police. Miss Ashford, this is Detective Warren. We've been investigating the abandonment of a minor on Interstate 94 3 months ago. We have reason to believe the child is with you. Corinne's hands trembled. Lenora looked up from her cereal, sensing tension. Everything was about to change again. Detective Lorna Warren wasn't what Corinne expected. No handcuffs, no judgment, just tired eyes that had seen too much suffering. She sat in Corinne's living room, noting the accessible furniture, the physical therapy equipment in the corner, the framed drawings Lenora had made covering an entire wall, stick figures holding hands. My family, written in shaky crayon letters. Miss Ashford, Detective Warren began carefully, I'm not here to take the child away, but I need to understand what happened, and I need to find the mother. Corinne's lawyer, Miriam, sat rigid beside her. They'd prepared for this, rehearsed answers, legal strategies, but when Corinne spoke, she abandoned the script. She told the truth. Finding Lenora on the highway, the note. her decision to bring her home instead of calling police. "I know I should have reported it immediately," Corinne admitted, "but I couldn't let her disappear into a system that would destroy her." Detective Warren sighed deeply. The mother, Darlene Vance, reported her daughter missing 2 days after abandoning her. Guilt, probably. Panic. "We've been searching for 3 months." She paused. "We found her yesterday." The room froze. "Where?" Corinne whispered. "Living in her car behind a Walmart in Flint. When we questioned her, she broke down completely. Said she left Lenora on that highway because she couldn't watch her daughter starve. She'd lost her apartment, her jobs, couldn't afford medication. She thought abandoning her was the only way to save her life." Silence crashed through the room like a physical force. Then Lenora's voice came from the hallway. "You found Mama?" Everyone turned. Lenora had wheeled herself in on the custom wheelchair. Corinne had bought bright purple with stickers Lenora had chosen herself. Her eyes were wide, a devastating mix of hope and fear and something else. Anger, maybe, or betrayal. Detective Warren knelt to her level. "We did, sweetheart. She's been looking for you. Would you like to see her?" Lenora looked at Corinne, uncertain. "Will she leave me again?" Corinne felt her heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. Before she could answer, Detective Warren continued. "Lenora, your mama loves you very much. She made a terrible mistake because she didn't know what else to do. But Miss Ashford has been taking very good care of you. We need to figure out what's best for everyone." What happened next shocked everyone in that room. "I want to see her," Lenora said quietly. "But I want Mama Corinne there too." Mama Corinne. 2 words that made Corinne's eyes flood with tears. Darlene Vance was brought to the penthouse 2 hours later. She walked in thin and haunted, clothes hanging off her frame, hair unwashed, eyes hollow from months of guilt and homelessness. But the moment she saw Lenora, everything else disappeared. "Lenora," she whispered, voice breaking. Lenora wheeled forward slowly, stopped 3 feet away. "Mama, you left me." The words were simple, a child's words, but they carried unbearable weight. Darlene fell to her knees, sobbing so violently her whole body shook. "I'm so sorry, baby. I thought someone better could help you. I thought you'd die if you stayed with me. I failed you. I failed you so badly." Corinne watched, her own eyes wet. She'd expected to hate this woman, prepared to fight her. But all she saw was a mother broken by impossible circumstances, by a system that failed poor families, by choices no parent should ever have to make. "You didn't fail her," Corinne said quietly. "The system failed both of you." Over the next 3 hours, the complete truth emerged. Darlene had no family support. Her parents were dead. No siblings. Lenora's father had left before she was born. She'd been denied disability benefits for Lenora 3 times due to bureaucratic errors, lost paperwork, impossible documentation requirements. She worked 2 minimum wage jobs simultaneously, overnight cleaning at an office building, morning shifts at a grocery store that barely covered rent, let alone medical care, equipment, medicine. When she lost both jobs in the same week, one to store closure, one to performance issues that meant she'd chosen her sick daughter over punctuality, one too many times, eviction followed immediately. She tried shelters, but most weren't equipped for children with disabilities. The ones that were had year-long waiting lists. She slept in her car with Lenora for 2 weeks, watching her daughter's condition worsen without medication, without therapy, without proper food. Desperation wasn't an excuse, but it was an explanation. Detective Warren laid out the legal reality. "Miss Vance, child abandonment is a felony, but given the circumstances, the prosecutor is willing to consider alternatives if we can ensure Lenora's welfare and safety going forward." Miriam leaned forward, legal mind racing. What if we proposed an unconventional solution? Miss Ashford has resources, Miss Vance doesn't. What if they co-parented? Everyone stared. That's not legally recognized, Detective Warren said. Then we make it recognized, Corinne said firmly. She turned to Darlene. I don't need to replace you. I don't want to. But Lenora needs stability, health care, education, opportunity. I can provide that, and she needs her mother's love. You can give her that. What if we both raise her? Darlene looked at her daughter, then at this impossibly wealthy stranger who'd shown her daughter more kindness in 3 months than the world had in 7 years. Why would you do this? You don't know us. Corinne smiled sadly. Because I know what it's like to want a child and not be able to have one, and I know what it's like to have resources but no purpose. Maybe we can help each other. Maybe we can give Lenora the life she deserves. Lenora wheeled between both women, took Darlene's hand, took Corinne's hand. Can I have 2 mamas? The room held its breath. Detective Warren pulled out her phone. I need to make calls. This is going to require serious legal creativity, but... She looked at Lenora, at the hope in her eyes. Maybe it's time we got creative. Something shifted. A possibility emerged from tragedy. A family began forming from broken pieces. The legal battle took 8 brutal months. Corinne hired a team of family law attorneys who crafted an arrangement unprecedented in Michigan judicial history. Joint guardianship with Corinne as primary caregiver and financial provider, Darlene maintaining full parental rights with structured visitation expanding as she stabilized her life. The courtroom was packed. Media circled like sharks sensing blood. Billionaire fights to keep abandoned child made headlines for weeks. Judge Estelle Rothman, a woman who'd spent 30 years in family court, was deeply skeptical. Miss Ashford, this isn't adoption. It's not traditional foster care. It's not any recognized legal arrangement. What exactly are you proposing? Corinne stood, spine straight, voice unwavering. Your Honor, I'm proposing we stop treating family like a rigid legal category and start treating it like what it should be: love, stability, commitment, and sacrifice. Lenora has a biological mother who loves her desperately but couldn't care for her. She has a guardian who can provide for her materially but didn't give birth to her. Why can't she have both? Why do we force children to choose between love and resources when they deserve both? The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Rothman banged her gavel. Order. She studied Lenora, sitting in her wheelchair between both women, small hands gripping both of theirs tightly. The child seems well adjusted, thriving, even. Miss Vance, do you agree to this arrangement? Darlene stood, voice shaking but clear. Your Honor, I love my daughter more than my own life. I made a horrible mistake born from desperation, and I'll regret it every day I breathe. But Miss Ashford has given Lenora opportunities I could never provide. If I can be part of her life while she has stability, that's more than I ever hoped for after what I did. Judge Rothman was silent for a long moment. Then, the court recognizes this is highly unusual, but the court also recognizes that Lenora's best interests are served by maintaining relationships with both women. Guardianship granted to Miss Ashford, with conditions. Miss Vance retains parental rights with supervised visitation 3 times weekly, expanding to unsupervised as appropriate. This arrangement will be reviewed annually. The gavel came down. The courtroom exploded. Corinne and Darlene both cried. Lenora grinned widely. Those conditions became their new life. Corinne enrolled Lenora in an elite private school with exceptional accessibility resources and specialized support. She hired the best physical therapists in the country. Lenora underwent 2 more surgeries that improved her mobility dramatically. She'd never walk unassisted, but she gained independence she'd never imagined possible. She learned to use crutches, started physical therapy, swimming, began dreaming of adaptive sports. Meanwhile, Corinne helped Darlene too. Got her into stable housing, a small apartment Corinne owned, rent-free, connected her with job training programs, helped her get her GED, then enroll in community college, ensured she had reliable transportation to see Lenora 3 times weekly, then daily as trust built. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. There were hard moments. Lenora sometimes struggled with having 2 mother figures, confused about loyalty, about love's capacity to multiply. Darlene wrestled with crushing guilt and overwhelming gratitude in equal measure, learning to forgive herself for an unforgivable act. Corinne learned that love wasn't about control or perfection, but about showing up, even when it was messy and complicated. But slowly, improbably, they became something beautiful, something like a family. Birthdays were celebrated together, elaborate parties with both women planning, both women present, holidays shared. When Lenora's school held Mother's Day events, she brought both women, introducing them proudly. This is Mama Darlene, who gave me life. And this is Mama Corinne, who saved my life. I'm really lucky. On Lenora's 10th birthday, 3 years after that November night on Interstate 94, she stood before her entire class and gave a presentation titled, "What Family Means." She spoke about a mama who loved her enough to let her go, and a mama who loved her enough to bring her home. She spoke about second chances, about forgiveness, about how love multiplies instead of dividing. There wasn't a dry eye in the classroom. That night, tucking Lenora into bed, Corinne asked, "Do you ever think about that night? On the highway?" Lenora nodded. "Sometimes. I used to have nightmares about it." "Do you still?" "No. Now I dream about the future instead." "What do you see?" Lenora smiled. "I see myself helping other kids like me, kids who need families, kids who are scared. I want to be someone who stops on the highway for them." Corinne kissed her forehead, heart overflowing. Moral lessons from this story. 1. Desperation can force good people into unthinkable choices. Darlene wasn't evil. She was a mother destroyed by poverty and systemic failure. Before judging someone's worst moment, understand their impossible circumstances. 2. Family is built by choice, not just by blood. Corinne and Lenora shared no DNA, but they built a bond as strong as any biological connection. Love creates family. 3. One act of courage can change multiple lives forever. Corinne could have driven past. Instead, she stopped, and that single decision transformed 3 lives completely. 4. The system often fails those who need it most. Darlene was denied benefits repeatedly. Shelters couldn't accommodate disabled children. Sometimes survival requires going outside broken systems. 5. Children are resilient when given love and stability. Lenora endured trauma that would break many adults, but with proper support, she thrived. 6. Forgiveness is possible even after the unforgivable. Lenora forgave her mother. Darlene forgave herself. Healing takes time, but it's possible. 7. Wealth means nothing if not used to uplift others. Corinne had billions, but her life felt empty until she used her resources to save one child. 8. Unconventional solutions sometimes work best. The 2-mother arrangement defied legal norms, but it served Lenora's best interests. 9. Don't judge what you haven't experienced. Until you've faced impossible poverty with a disabled child, you cannot understand Darlene's desperation. 10. Every child deserves both love and resources. Lenora shouldn't have had to choose. Society should ensure all children have both. My wonderful viewers, if this story touched your heart, show some love. Hit that like button and tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, yes, you, because every click, every comment, every subscription keeps these important stories alive. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something powerful from Lenora, Darlene, and Corinne's journey. See you in our next video. Bye for now.